this yet. Here it comes. Radar warning. Smoke in the air. Phoenix, break right.
Emergency jettison. Dagger 3 defending.
Here goes another one. Dagger 1 defending.
So we are back, well, I'm back at Manuel's house to review the dual 12-inch subs from the Nakamichi Dragon. So you can see the Nakamichi Dragon here, it's massive. So originally he started off with, well, actually, why don't you tell me, Manuel? So Manuel's off screen, he's gonna be, chiming in. We're gonna be talking about what we thought of the 12-inch subs. So how long have you had the Dragon?
I've had it over a year now, so at launch, whenever that was, part of the first orders that came out, and I've had it since, and it came with the dual 8-inch subwoofers, 2 of them. So I'd had those at the front for the longest until these came out, and now incorporated all 4 of them into the system. So it's kind of what we've demoed today.
Yeah, so you had the 8 inches, and you said that they were great. There was a few movies that we talked about in the last video, so we'll have another video, so you can go watch that one where we talked about, where I did the unboxing. But you did mention that, you noticed that there was a couple movies where you noticed that not that the 8 inches aren't capable of subs, it's just they weren't able to handle certain frequencies down low. I think Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse at the very beginning was one of those, right? Where you said you're like, man, like pretty much every other movie that's great, but it's kind of struggling with this one. So
yeah, we watched so much content. I mean, we're in here all the time, and it's not just movies, it's Netflix shows and things like that, TV, some big sporting events. So, but when we're watching some movies, for the most part, great. And all your kind of go-tos, Ready Player One, etc. But then when we popped into the Spider-Verse, for some reason, frequencies or whatever, don't know too much about that, it just didn't sound like it was able to manage that accurately. So we're like, well, that's interesting. That's probably the most notable movie that we saw that just wasn't able to manage it, I guess. And I just always like the feeling of the bass, right? So in terms of like a movie experience. So when these came out, I was like, oh, that's great, because you can add them too. So put the 2/8s in the back corners underneath the rear speakers, and put those up in the front, and tried a couple configurations in the corners and then side by side, kind of the way they are now, and you heard them. And the side by side, I thought, kind of gave the best, because now you kind of have those two towards the middle, and then these kind of on the outside corners. So the coverage seemed pretty well balanced.
pretty even now, right?
Yeah, it's pretty even. So kind of been listening to content, games, movies, shows, sporting events, things like that. The whole gamut, pretty much for all of us. So a couple of different platforms: Xbox, PlayStation, Apple TV, and then Blu-ray, 4K movies. So it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, so we mentioned that just to, we're not crapping on the 8-inch subs or anything like that. We just wanted to kind of give you, his thoughts on his experience with it, because this is his system. This isn't my system. I have heard it a couple times. But now that Nakamichi Dragon has the 12 inches that you can get, and actually you can go up to four 12 inches, it's one thing that he noticed that he said, I've been talking to him over the past couple months, because how long have you had these subs now? What, 2 months?
I think a couple of months.
Couple of months, right?
Yeah.
Since we did the unboxing.
Yeah.
And I know we've been texting each other, until we were able to get together again and do the review. And he was like, man, I love it. Like, it's so much more enveloping. There's no dead spots now. This, like, with the dual 12s and the 8s, you've got so much headroom.
Yeah.
In this system now. Whereas, before, I don't know if you notice, do you sit on the front row when you're by yourself?
I sit on the front row, and a lot of my content is maybe later at night. People are asleep. So even at the lower volumes, like on the Dragon, like 8 and 9, up to 10 is kind of like where I'm at, somewhere depending on the content. What's great about having this sub configuration is you're still able to experience it even at those lower volumes, which is awesome, because I don't want to have to crank it and then wake everybody up. So because it just works so well now with the 4 on those two 12 inches in the front. Do a great job at any volume. And you kind of feel, I was telling you that I was watching some shows, catching up on some old shows that I really like that are quiet, and then suddenly you have like an impact and you feel it. And it's like, oh, it's great because you're still kind of getting a cinematic experience, even if it's kind of at a lower volume, which I really like.
Right, yeah. So we ran through a gamut of demos. I brought over my Zadoo player and had some content, you know, so that way we can quickly go through them. But we watched a lot of demos. First, we're going to talk about 4 in particular, but what was your experience? Because some of these movies you hadn't heard before. So it was a new experience where you're like, oh, okay, I haven't seen this movie. You know, one of them, which we'll talk about, is U571. But one of the other ones that we watched too was the Tron. You hadn't seen Tron Legacy.
I hadn't seen Tron.
So what was your experience with some of these newer, new to you movies that, you know, with the base?
I mean, it's great. It's just like any other movie that I'll watch that I haven't seen before. Like, it just takes on a different tone. And yeah, the Tron one was great because you highlighted the clip where they're on the cycles and they're kind of competing and they're trying to cut each other off. And yeah, it just takes it to that next level. I was sitting right next to you watching it, and we're watching little clips, and I get really into it because the sound, the visuals, it's just awesome. So I really liked that one. And then some of the older movies, like the U571, obviously I've heard of it. I just never got around to watching it. They're dropping those mines on that sub, and it's yeah, it's wild. Like, and I don't think that was like Dolby Atmos.
No.
So that's the other thing with the Dragon that I like, is I just kind of throw content at it, and whether it's Dolby Atmos, DTS, or whatever, it does have some processing where it'll like
upmix.
Yeah, upmix. And if you're in Dolby, it'll do Dolby Surround, and if you're in DTS, it'll do DTS:X Neural, I think it's called. Yeah, I showed you on the app, and that's the other reason I know that is because on the app it'll tell you what the source is and what it's doing for it, if anything, if it can. But so that's a great part. So I think we were talking about the Switch. The Switch is kind of very basic, bare bones, but the Dragon kind of elevates it in a really, really nice way to where we're hearing like Mario Kart or Zelda like sound really, really cool with the kids, and like, oh man, this sounds great. Like, we've never heard it sound like this.
Right.
And then with the movies, yeah, it's like fantastic. So it even does stuff with movies that aren't in the quote unquote ideal format of Atmos or DTS. But yeah, so that one was really good. The sub movie, which there was another one, the underwater one.
Oh yeah, Underwater. Yeah, with Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, Underwater, of course. Yeah. That was really cool. I'd never seen that movie. So it was really great. Just kind of these corridors, you're in tight spaces, and then I just like bass quite a bit. I just feel like it really brings you into like much more than the highs and the mids. For me, sometimes they give me a hard time, but I just like feeling the movie. And yeah, with this configuration, like it's hard to miss that. Like, it's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so let's talk about a couple 4 that we had picked out. So the first movie that we watched, I think the first movie that we put on was Godzilla -1.
敵襲か。わかりません。どういうことだ。何かでかいのが。米軍の新兵器か。敵！敵！海岸の方だ。了解。
Now, you said that you own it, you've seen it, but the first time you watched it like on a plane or something, or in the theater?
The first time I saw it, I think it was probably like down in the living room or something like that. Down in the living room.
Yeah. Okay, so not a setup like you have up here, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, what was experiencing it like before, when the first time you watched it downstairs, and then now that you've got the dual 12s and the 8s? we watched the opening scene. You were like, man, I love that opening scene.
Yeah,
And then
right.
the scene at the end when he goes, nuclear. So what was that experience like with Godzilla minus one?
Well, number one, this is like awesome movie.
Yeah.
Really.
One of this is my
It's
favorite
so
4K
good,
Blu-ray
and
audio.
I think what they do is they do a good job of giving you a bunch of rich audio, but with a lot of empty space in between, so you can really appreciate like the footsteps. Like Jurassic Park did it. You get the footsteps. It's very kind of reminiscent to that movie. But man, Godzilla minus one's so great because it kind of puts it everywhere, and with the system, which imagine if you have this Atmos and stuff, like it'll give you the directional cues as well. It's not just bass for bass sake. It's kind of like, oh, he's over there to the left, or he's behind you, and then or he's above you. I really like that when the guy's in the fighter, he's supposed to fire at him, but he doesn't, and it kind of Godzilla, you can hear his growl like pan over you.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Oh, that sounds so good. And then when he steps, that bass on pretty much wherever you sit in here, it's kind of, you feel it. Like it's so good. And then we saw where he goes nuclear. Yeah, I mean it's just, yeah, these things are just firing, and feels like the whole room just shaking. It's really probably just your seat and you feel it, but it adds so much to the movie, just like you're at the movies, right? You feel everything, you hear everything. So yeah, I think it's pretty awesome. It's just great the way it takes the movie to the next level.
Yeah, and I think we both mentioned. So for me, like again, which I remember when we hooked these up the first time, you weren't calibrated, you didn't have them placed where we just turned them on.
Yeah.
But I remember the last time, what happened this time is like, man, you're getting all this tactile, like almost like you have a butt kicker in the seats, and he's got 2 rows of seats, which I'll put on screen, but there's no subs directly behind the front row, and then the 2 subs in the back are on the sides.
Yeah.
But even on the front row, I'm like, man, I'm feeling like a real tactile sensation in the seat. And then we were talking about how Godzilla, whenever, and it goes to being a good mix, but whenever Godzilla would stomp or something off screen, it wasn't boom, boom, boom. It was, hey, he's off screen, so it's from the perspective of the soldiers.
Yeah.
And so that stomp is still potent, but it's not like he's on the screen.
Right.
So, and that's really good mix, and the 12-inch subs did a really good job of like, hey, he's maybe kind of in the back, but you can still feel that little subtle.
Right. Yeah. The cues. It's kind of just really, really well done in terms of like the level, the intensity, all of those things just kind of give it that atmosphere where they're talking I guess they're in the
little trench.
The trench
thing.
there, and you can kind of still hear them moving.
Yeah.
And that's awesome because you're with the soldiers and they're talking about stuff, but you hear oh yeah, he's still back there. And you can get it with that bass. If you're just watching it, and you don't have something like that, then maybe you miss some of that, but hearing it kind of puts you all in the movie. Just, it's awesome. The movie's just great. I've watched that scene so many times.
Same.
It's great. It's great.
Okay, so then the next movie that we watched was Cloverfield. Now, remind me, have you seen this one before or not?
I saw it when it came out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's probably been a while though, right?
It's been a long time. Yeah.
Okay. What was your thoughts on that opening scene? I like using that for base because it's quick, but it's visceral.
Maybe you should have left town a little bit earlier, right? Shit. Go, 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 go!
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts on that opening scene with the 12-inch subs?
Again, it just really good. And then this one had those that scene, I think, when they're going in the steps where the sound cuts
Like
off.
a subway kind of?
Yeah, the subway or whatever it is, but the sound kind of like comes in and out, but like very sharply. So it goes from like 0 to whatever, and you go from like quiet and then suddenly like everything. And it's awesome how the system can just do that and give you that pretty, intense viewing. So I hadn't seen it in a while, and probably I don't know when this thing came out, 2008. So yeah, in 2008, I maybe had like Bose, and which is great at the time. But it was probably just 2 lefts and rights, probably no center, and a little bass module. Or unless I saw it at the movies, which is a whole different story. But I just didn't remember too much of it. But when that scene where the Statue of Liberty head rolls in, and they're kind of in a market or in a bodega or whatever it is, and the thing just like the windows pop and everything, it's just great. It's like it makes you like, oh, I can watch this movie, and it's like go back and watch it. And it's a great experience, which I've been doing for some time, where I'll watch shows that I've already seen or movies, and now that I can kind of, oh, that's kind of what it was supposed to sound like, and it's
Director's
great.
intent.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, and we just saw like a real small clip of that one, and it was great.
That was like a clip that most people use. I think I got that from some guys in Kansas City or Chicago or something, where it's a little clip, and then there's some other clips throughout the movie. I mean, that movie has a ton of like bass.
Yeah.
And I believe that's 1080p. It's not even Dolby Atmos. It's Dolby True HD. So that just goes to show you. Well, actually, I think this clip may have been. I can't remember if it was Dolby Atmos or not, but it's a really old movie, like you said, 2008, and your system is really at the mercy of the mix. So if it's a bad mix, it's just not going to sound good. We tried to pick, at least I try to show some clips of some stuff that's really good. But yeah, that one's visceral, and I know how that sounds in my system, and with this one, like, it's great. It's potent.
Yeah.
It's shaking the room.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, so the next one, we kind of already mentioned this a little bit, but U571. So this was a movie that you had never seen before.
Yeah.
Right? And it's an old movie. I can't remember the year, but This was one that was, I've heard a lot of people talk about how it was mixed, and they're like, man, for an old movie, like this has one of the best mixes that's not a Dolby Atmos track. And so I think some couple years ago, maybe during the pandemic or something, I bought it and I watched it and I was like, oh my God. And yeah, the depth charges, like absolutely visceral. And then, you know, you see them on screen, they're like, you get that claustrophobic where you're like, you're stuck in a submarine. You can't go anywhere. You're at the mercy of these, you know, depth charges. What was your overall thought on that, not having seen it before?
Yeah, it sounded great, and I think this is why, one of the reasons why, because I previously, and you heard it, before I moved on to the Dragon, I had the Sonos.
Yeah.
And DTS, from my experience, and with the Sonos, it just didn't mix very well. I think it would go to some kind of default format. But what this does is that it actually has the capability of decoding that. So when you listen to something with the DTS audio, then it does its upmixing or whatever, and it goes into the neural X like we talked about. So then things sound like awesome. Then it's like, oh, this is great, because DTS is pretty awesome. And I really, really like that I can throw those kinds of formats to this, whatever, because I have Blu-rays and stuff like that. And yeah, it sounded great. Like it sounded like, I haven't seen it, it's an older movie, but it doesn't sound old, doesn't look old. It's just fantastic. So going from Dolby Atmos or Dolby to DTS, like the experience is awesome either way. I know that like the Christopher Nolan movies aren't always in, I think he goes with DTS.
Yeah, he doesn't, for whatever reason.
So I have like the Batman trilogy, and then I put that on, and it's like, oh, sounds fantastic, because it can do it. So I really liked it. Yeah, I need to watch that movie. It looked great.
It's a good movie. There's some, it's not, I wouldn't say the whole movie's action, but the parts that are, especially when they're submersed, I mean, you get that, we complain about these modern day mixes where we're like, man, this doesn't sound like it could have been like what it should be.
Yeah.
But for an old movie like that, being trapped in a submarine, you get the, I mean, like you could hear, that was another thing that the subs did really well, is there was scenes within that scene where it got really quiet, because, you know, they're anticipating, they're like, man, what's going to happen? And you could hear the depth charges before they got to the actual boat, and you could hear it sounded like they were like hundreds of feet above it, and it was just that subtle like boom, boom. And then of course when they came down, it just obliterated, you know.
Yeah, it sounded great. That was Matthew McConaughey, so it can't be that old of a movie, right?
Right.
Wearing that skipper hat.
Yeah.
From Gilligan's Island. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that was good.
All right, so the last one that we're really going to talk about is Top Gun Maverick.
Heads up, Phoenix. Bombs away.
We were talking about how much we absolutely just love this movie, man. Like, instant classic, just epic battles, like good scripting, good audio, good filming of the scenes. Had you watched this prior to having your system? Did you watch this on the Sonos?
No, this one, like most people, saw it at the movies.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's amazing, right? Like at the movies, obviously,
right?
You know, it's decked out with great quality, great audio, great sound. Great audio, great video, and so the expectation that you bring it home, you know, like how's it going to sound, right? Like, okay, I'm going from that to a sound bar, and yeah, like now that I'm loading it in with the current setup with the 12 inches, I mean, it sounded awesome. And then the heights channels are, to me, I don't know if the room or whatever, I don't have the highest ceilings, but with the two in the back and the left and right, and then there's 4 on the bar itself shooting up, I always feel like it does a really good job of creating...
Awesome job.
Yeah, like...
Incredible.
You hear the stuff, obviously I don't have anything above, and you talked about this before, I just feel like it does a great job of creating this bubble. And things move around. And in Top Gun, they move around fast, but you kind of get this sense of space and dimension
Yep.
that I just really, really like. I like that I've propped up the bar up on these stands. I don't know if that's the best thing to do in terms of its, is it gonna warp on me or anything? But I'm pretty close. I'm on the feet of the bar, so I'm thinking, oh, okay, I think it'll hold up. But I have a lower kind of media table there, and if initially I had it way down there, so the sound's just like shooting at your knees, and then the height's got to go like quite a distance to go up. So I always wanted to like prop it up. I did that with the Sonos as well, but I went even higher with the Dragon to try and get things pretty, as quote unquote ear level as possible.
Right.
But I think that helps the high channels do a little bit better job. They're not like traveling forever. And then the ones in the back are higher than the front. But that's one cool thing about the Dragon is, don't know if it's a feature in others, but it wasn't in the Sonos, was you could dial in every single channel. So the center can go from 1 to 10. The left can go from 1 to 10. The right can go from 1 to 10. The outer surrounds can go from 1 to 10, and so on and so on. And so you can kind of adjust depending on the placement, where you are. And that's, part of the calibration where you set your distances. That's one part. But then the other part is you can kind of dial in each individual channel. So centers, I always hear, because if there's even a problem, which there hasn't been, I just put that up to 6 or 7 because I'm at 5 right now. I kind of use 5 as my center line for the center, and then everything else has to work around that. This thing gets loud quick. Like we were listening at like 15, and then it goes to like 80 or 100. I was like, who's doing that?
I don't know, man.
I don't know how you could do that. So I wanted a little bit more to bring it out. I kind of tapered everything down, and starting with like the center at 5. And then so I have some things that are 4, 3, and then the stuff in the back, 4, 5, and then heights get a little bit more because they have to travel. So like just messing around with those numbers, kind of, from my ear, because everyone hears things differently, it just really helped kind of bring it in. Like once it was calibrated, once I felt like I had the right numbers on all those individual channels, I was like, oh, okay, like it sounds much better to me.
Yeah.
Somebody might come in and is like, hey, I can't hear left or right or whatever. Okay, yeah, I could adjust that. But yeah, how much you can tune into it and kind of dial in the sound, I just really, really, really like that. And it's not like I'm doing it all the time.
Right.
I've kind of set it that way. And every once in a while, maybe if you go from like a TV show to like a movie or a game, you could also do the app EQs, because it has, I think for our demos, we were using Movie 3, which when we were screen recording, it kind of describes what that does and what the difference between 1, 2, and 3 is. So you could do it that way as well. So there's just so many options in the app. Really, really great. Like gives you all the info, what you're listening to. There's no confusion of, hey, is this really Atmos? Is it not? Sometimes I struggle with Sonos. Like I didn't know if I was really getting actual like Atmos. Here it'll tell you like, no, 2.0 or whatever. And he's like, oh, that's odd. And then you can fix it. Or maybe it is 2.0 content, maybe on YouTube, right? But yeah, it's great. And then Top Gun was, it's fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, just awesome.
We're not out of this yet. Here it comes. Radar warning. Smoke in the air. Phoenix, break right.
Emergency jettison. Dagger 3 defending.
Here goes another one. Dagger 1 defending. Rooster status. Oh my God. Smoke in the air, smoke in the air. Break right. Break it right. Oh my God, here they come. Start with your 6, Rooster. Deploying countermeasures. Negative contact. Dagger 1 defending.
Talk to me, Pop.
Break right, Phoenix, break right. 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Oh, Rooster, 2 more on your 6. Dagger 2 defending.
Yeah, the bass, and you know, Top Gun's not known for like the deepest bass, but I like playing it because you get the sense of scale of them being outside in these jets and they're flying around, and then you get the missiles, the missile explosions, the flares, and you get those quick, like that's one thing I like to see is how good of a sub is when it's doing those flares, because that's those quick like and yeah, if the driver can't hold up with that, it's gonna sound bloated, it's not gonna sound as good. And you know, when I was recording the subs, I was watching it, playing it back, and I'm like, oh yeah, this thing is it's firing off, and it did an exceptional job. And it also helps add to that bubble that you were talking about. Because one thing that I'm still impressed by, and for all of you guys that are naysayers, you have to actually hear this. It's getting some incredible phantom height effects. Like we would hear stuff over us. You know, we talked about Godzilla. One of the scenes that really impressed me was when we were watching Tron, and whenever they were in that big arena and he would talk and you would hear his voice just reverberate, and it just kept reverberating until you couldn't hear it anymore. I was like, man.
A user.
This is insane that it's actually, like you can hear it all around you. There's no speakers on the side of us in between the surrounds and the soundbar, but you can clearly hear that you're in a massive arena.
Yeah, the reverb, it does a really good job.
Really
I've
good
noticed
job.
that in a couple of movies. I think there's a scene in like Star Wars where I can't remember the character, where Kylo Ren's talking to that big figure.
Oh, yeah.
There's like, it's like in a cave, kind of that reverb chorus like, and it just sounds like huge. Like it just kind of fades very naturally, and you can still hear it like you were describing. So yeah, not sure what's going on there, but it sounds awesome. Yeah,
I don't know how they did it, but it does an exceptional job. And again, the subs, you got so much headroom. I mean, you would look over and you'd be like, man, this is only at like 10 or 15. I'm like, what? Like, how does this sound?
Yeah, and the base level is like at 7. So it goes from 1 to 10, kind of the same way I was talking about all the individual channels. The bass is also like has a level, and treble has a level. My ears are kind of weird with like really high frequency, so I tend to like bring treble down. And in this particular case with the movies, what I've done is the back 8s, you can't do it in the app for some reason, but in the on-screen display, you can actually change the levels of the individual of the bass setup. So, but it kind of combines them. So the 2 8s in the back, it calls them like the 8-inch. You can taper that down, or you could raise it up. And then the 12s in the front, you could also adjust it as well, just like on the app. But for some reason, for the bass, you have to go to the on-screen display. And I found that very, very helpful, because I want most of my bass work to be coming from the 12s in the front. They're more capable, they're more powerful, they sound better. And the 8s in the back have more of a supporting, rounded out, kind of fill the gaps thing. So I think I have the 8s like at a 4, maybe something like that. And then the 12s like at a 6, 7, something like that. So I think that helps. And when the 8s can't manage it or whatever, I'm kind of always hearing the 12 kind of be the primary. So that's, again, they could have just said, yeah, add it to the system, there you go, they all fire, same levels, like, but I think it was important for that ability to tune it, because they're capable of different things. So I really, really like that part. Like, it's awesome that you could do that.
Yeah.
And I think it helps you fine tune it.
Okay, so I did want to mention this just to show you how powerful these 12-inch subs are. So we put on The Greatest Showman, which you hadn't seen yet.
I hadn't seen it.
You hadn't seen it. So the beginning has like some really, really low frequencies.
Yeah.
And very visceral, you know, with the stomping scene. So we put that scene on, and right away when they started stomping, I was like, I heard it, and I was like, oh man, I heard something bottom out.
Yeah.
And you immediately were like, you know what? I don't think that's the 12-inch sub. It's probably the 8s. So I was like, yeah, you're probably right. So we decided, hey, why don't I turn off the 8-inch subs, which you have the capability to do from the app. You turned off the 8-inch subs where it was just the 12-inch subs running. And yeah, we played that scene over and it was clean.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we were joking like Godzilla, we could
no problems with Godzilla.
no problem with Godzilla, but Hugh Jackman stomping around like that's just
It's too much.
It's too much. So yeah, the app you can do all 8-inch only or 12-inch only, and it's just a push of a button. So when we saw that, we're like, well, let's try it out. Let's see what we can do. So I put 12-inch only, which turns off the ones in the back, the 8-inch here. And then we replayed it, and we're like, oh yeah, that kind of sound is gone. And the 12 inches were like just doing the work. But that's another reason why I like that level. You can lower the 8s in the back in case you have something, but you still want them to be part of it. You could taper those way down so maybe you don't hear that. But yeah, I think that's a good example of a movie that, man, it's demanding, right? Like that's wild. So it sounds great. It's a great little intro. I'd never seen the movie, but kind of shows you 8 inches challenge, the 12 inches ready to go kind of thing. So it's pretty awesome.
And again, that's not saying that the 8 inches are bad. It's just they're not designed to go down that low. So if you're somebody that has the 8-inch and you're like, hey, I want to get more output out of my system, I mean, the 12-inch just handled that scene, and that was just 2.
Yeah.
In the front.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine, having 4 of these things, man.
Yeah, I don't know. That's wild. You'd probably just keep them low, let them all work. I don't know, but I've seen some home tours that you've done where they have. It looks like the subs are the size of like my TV. Like it's ridiculous. Like it's huge. But yet some people see these, like kind of our friends or family, they'll come in, they'll see the size of these 12 inches in the front. They're like, why do you need all of that? Like what? But then they'll like sit down and you watch a movie and it's not too loud. Like it's at 10, 11 or 12. And they're like, oh yeah, of course. It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the final question is, now that you've had your Nakamichi Dragon system for about over a year, you knew how that sounds, or how that system sounded with the 8-inch. Now that you have the 12 inches, are you going to buy them?
Sure. Yeah. I think the 12 inches, if you really like that kind of full experience, like no compromise in terms of capabilities with just all kinds of content, demanding content, I think that's kind of the way to go. I would never really complain with the 8-inch setup either. I thought it was a great system. I think it gave me a lot of options, flexibility. I could throw anything at it from a codec perspective, at most 2.0, DTS, whatever, and it would manage it. And gaming, movies, shows. So I was never really complaining about it. And I just thought it created great, like, atmosphere. But there was some movies like, the 8 inches, they're 8-inch subs, their configuration, whatever, maybe some of it, there's room for improvement. So then when they released these, I was like, oh man, that's pretty awesome. So for me, it's pretty, because I like it so much.
Yeah.
Because if you're not into the bass, but I imagine if you're watching the video, if you're on this channel, you're probably into home audio. Like they're great. I've seen other people talk about them as well, and they just love them, and I can see why, because they just immediately add this awesome component, this layer, this immersiveness to your system that you just didn't have before, and it's noticeable. So it's not like, oh yeah, I'll get the 12-inch and maybe I'll hear a little bit more.
You hear a lot more.
No, it's like it is like obvious, and that's just with me, like not even at high volumes. Like you'll see on the screen that we recorded, I have it like at 7, the volume's like at 15. Like there's just so much more room to, like if you really like to crank it, then 12 inches, they're fantastic. I just we play games with the kids and things like that. Even those games like take advantage of those, like some of the things that are going on in the game also kind of give you that more immersive feeling, which, you know, gaming, some people game with headphones the whole time and they're fine with it. But I just like kind of hearing everything, you know. So the system, same thing, kind of performs, and whether it's Switch, PlayStation, or whatever, it'll handle and upscale it as best as it can to something that sounds really, really good. So, yep, I'm a big fan of the 12s. I think 2 is great. And if you will have these, if you already have these, then I think you're set. Like, it's great. If you're buying it now, I don't know if they have configurations with just those or 2 or 4. Yeah, that sounds like the ideal setup if you want to really, really feel it. But yeah, it's fantastic. Really like it.
Well, there you have it, guys. So awesome experience. You know, 12 inches of subs from Nakamichi. Again, you can go up to 4. So, you know, Manny has 2 12 inches up front, the 2 8 inches in the back. And I mean, he's got a ton of headroom. You know, hearing it before when he just had the 8 inches and then, or the 8 inch, the 2 8 inch subs, and now that he has 4, one, you get a lot more even bass versus just having, you know, 2 in the front or 2 in the back, and there may be some dead spots. Now pretty much everybody in the room is going to get pretty much the same experience with bass. You know, we sat in a couple different seats, and as far as bass, like it still sounded good. So that's our review of the Nakamichi 12-inch dual subs. Let us know what you think in the comments, and let us know if you have bought the 12-inch or if you plan on buying the 12-inch after you watch this video. I'll try to leave some links in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
Go, 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 go!